Welcome to Legal Views with your host, Attorney Sheila R. Stewart.
Well, welcome and thank you for tuning in today to Legal Views with Attorney Sheila R. Stewart. We are so excited to have with us on today the one and only Mrs. Paula Hearn, and she is going to share some interesting and some outstanding business strategic information with you to help you in your business matters. But first and foremost, we want to thank Donnie Savage for Savage Solutions, and we also want to thank Darryl Brett. We are broadcasting live on CJoy Network, 365 Live, Facebook, and YouTube. And we are going to let you know some great tips that you can use to assist yourself in business. I am your host, Attorney Sheila R. Stewart of the Law Office of Attorney Sheila R. Stewart, and we are located at 231 South Bemiston Avenue, Clayton, Missouri. And that number there is 314-854-1339. And you can see it on the screen. Welcome, Mrs. Paula Hearn. How are you doing today?
Estoy bien, gracias. ¿Y tú? I am wonderful.
Muy bien. I am doing quite well, and we are excited to have you. Let's go right into our show. And we want to tell you some interesting things about Mrs. Hearn. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate you on being consecrated and elevated to the supervisor of Spain. Yay!
Thank you.
That is an outstanding accomplishment
under
the leadership of Bishop Edwin Bass. That is great and outstanding. We are so proud of you and all of your many, many accomplishments. Mrs. Hearn is an executive from corporate America. She has served in numerous prestigious roles in corporate America. She's an executive coach. That means she can coach people to matriculate through various levels in the organization to ascend to top leadership as vice presidents and presidents of the organization. She holds an MBA, a master's, and she has her SPHR in human resources. Welcome, Mrs. Hearn. How are you this evening?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. And thank you for the invite. I'm so happy to be here to share.
Well, we are excited to have you here to share. And one of the things that we want to bring your attention to make this discussion relevant to what you are going through or what you're working on are numerous areas that's transferable information. Not-for-profit organizations, corporate organizations, legal organizations, and the church. This type of information that we're going to share will assist you in these areas. Now, as we know today, there is an exodus from the workforce. Many people are leaving the workforce under the thought process that they're unsatisfied, unfulfilled, they're not happy, and they're not advancing within the workforce. Now, how can we get a person to become more effective in the workforce? How can we get a person to move up and get the type of salary, make the type of money that many of us want to make? Well, we're going to share leadership strategies with you that will assist you in reaching and fulfilling those goals that you have. Now, can you talk to us just briefly about, I've been hearing this terminology, this transformative leader. Everywhere I go. We had an election not too long ago, and everyone was saying that they were a transformative leader. Now, I tend not to think people are transformative leaders because they're big change agents, okay? Explain to us, in your opinion, what a transformative leader looks like.
Well, a transformational leader simply is somebody that's focused more on engaging people, engaging employees, engaging people into a particular project. A lot of these leaderships have been around for decades, and somebody rewrote it, refreshed it, whatever. So people walk around saying, I'm a transformational leader, when results show that they're another different type of leadership style. But transformational leadership really is more about inspiring and motivating and engaging employees or people that work with you.
Okay. What do you think some of the, and these, we're just having a light discussion. And so we're not, I don't want to put any pressure on you to, to just answer everything correctly. But I think in the day and era that we're living in, we need to understand the leaderships that is causing some people to excel and some people are being stagnated. Okay. You have people that are not doing well, whether they start their own business or whether they're working from somewhere, working for someone else, or if they're just merely in a church setting, they're not being effective. In your opinion, what are the common leadership styles?
Let's see, you have the autocratic, democratic, laissez-faire, there's transactional, transformational, coaching, participative, servant leader, situational leader. There are like so many leadership styles out there. Like I said, sometimes people grab one because it becomes a new buzzword for the moment, and that's what they think they are. But again, sometimes what you see in practice, they are not that particular leadership style.
What do you think what do you think is the best type of leadership style to create an effective business, in your opinion?
Interesting. Um, Situational leadership style, I believe, is very, very important. That means that you will change your leadership style based on the person or the situation or the group that you're managing. There are theories out there that basically says if you're forming a group, you're going to have to be just a little bit more directive or more authoritative versus if you have a high performing group when you can be more of a coach or a participative manager. But then there's also the whole theory of the servant leader, which I love. So I call myself a servant situational leader. So that servant leader, again, is a very compassionate person. They're interested in the person as a whole. So you may be working, but that person is also concerned about you in other areas. I can give you a short story about a servant leader. I
Sure.
worked for a phenomenal servant leader once, and our company, the parent company, said that we could have a gym. And so they were paying for all this expensive equipment. I raised my hand, I wanted it, I facilitated it, and here comes the day for the equipment to come. The equipment gets there, and they said, "Ma'am, where's your floor?" And I'm like, "There." And they go, "No, this company requires you have a special floor for this equipment." So I had to store the equipment, mosey right up to my servant leader. Servant leaders will make you comfortable. You don't want to disappoint them. So I said, "You know what? I made an error. It's a $16,000 error, but I have a solution for it. Just take it off my line and put it into your line." He looked at me and he said, "How did this happen?" And I explained it. He said, "Next time, just ask all your questions and say, what question do I need to ask you that I don't know to ask?" I use that to this day in business situations all the time. He never got upset. He was very compassionate. 2 weeks later, he gave me another project. It was a $200,000 deal. It's like, how do you trust me with that? But that's how he develops you. A servant leaders develop people. They develop environments of trust where people are not afraid to take the risk because you make a sound decision. If you make a mistake, that manager is going to support you, encourage you, and pull you right along.
What is the difference between a servant leader and a traditional leader? Because
But
when I look at the church and when I look at business organizations, I see a lot of traditional leadership
mhm,
styles, and I tend to
mhm.
think they can be a little more ineffective and boring. And what's your definition of a traditional leader?
The traditional leaders tend to focus on the leader. And so there's the leader, the whole top, the structure, the tiers, and everything in an organization, and the people are sort of at the bottom. They are very focused on processes, procedure, organizational structure, which is important. The servant leader is sort of the flip side of that. The servant leader serves. So their focus is on the people, building the people. They still have organizational objectives, but they're more interested in the people. And then the process, procedures, the leadership is sort of underneath that, undergirding the people.
Do you think that the traditional leadership style is effective in the 21st century in business organisms, or do you think it's kind of antiquated?
I think it can be effective, again, if it's situational. There are times when you definitely need to be authoritative. And there are times, depending on the group that you manage, you may need to be democratic. If you have a very high performant, proficient team, there are moments when you can be a laissez-faire manager. That may be, you may have a primary leadership style, but you can't manage that way all the time. So as a leader, you have to be flexible enough to use the leadership style that affects that situation, that person, that committee, that group, what have you.
Okay, let's talk about traits for a moment, because I'm interested in the traits. I think it's the leader's responsibility to create somewhat a level of inspiration. And many times what the leader will do, they will be uninspiring, boring. They don't come up with anything that's creative and innovative thinking or anything. It's just this same process thinking all the time. And then they can get upset when the interest is not there. I mean, how do you get that type of a leaders that come out of that way of thinking? How do you get them to become more inspirational? What advice would you give for those types of leaders?
That's a good one. I think one of the things that leaders have to do is create leadership development plans for themselves. And that's for the leader as well as anybody that want to become a leader. So if you want to be a good leader, you're going to have to read. It might mean you don't have to go to a college and matriculate, but maybe you're going to one of those school district community classes. Maybe you decide to get a leadership development a certificate or a management certificate. You have to do something to grow yourself. You might want to get a mentor, get a higher level mentor, one inside the organization, one outside the organization. With mentors, I believe mentors should be very successful in whatever their expertise is, but they also need to be successful and great achievers in every area of their life, or at least major areas in their life. So, for example, if you wanted to be an accountant yourself, you don't want somebody who's just a successful accountant. They want to be successful accountant as well as successful in other areas of their life. And I also encourage people, in order to develop further, find volunteer or just part-time jobs or whatever where you can get more experience as a leader. So if you're a boring leader and you're not creative, go join an organization and try to get up into leadership. Go to Toastmasters. Toastmasters has a learning track. You might want to find out in your HOA, can you get into HOA in the school setting? Where can you go to volunteer to develop your leadership skills? And specifically, if it's innovation, look for things that are creative for you.
So if I want to start my own business, I have my own business. So many people today, they're like I said at the beginning, it's this huge exodus where people are leaving the workforce. And even in the church, you see people leaving churches and becoming non-denominational and starting their own movements and so forth. And I think lots of times that's because people they're not pleased with the system of the business, the system of how things operate and so forth. If an individual is starting their business, what are some of the traits and some of the information can you share to help that individual that's kind of like fed up and they're moving into something, they want to move into something more interesting? What would you share with that individual to help them to be effective?
I would say goals. First of all, what is the goal? I know vision boarding is popular, and I'm like, let's do some goal boarding, because a vision without a plan, without legs and arms, it becomes a dream over time. So if you create some goals, and again, you're going to have to learn whatever that business is you want to go into, you need to learn as much as you can. Find somebody that's in that business already that's successful. What are they reading? What seminars do they go to? What actions do they go to make themselves better? So again, it's going to be your goals. It's going to be learning. You can go to like St. Louis Community College here in this area has a program that's about $100 6 weeks that teaches you how to start a business from wing to wing. The state of Missouri also has programs like that. I think it's called Most Source Link, and they have sometimes free classes. They have classes that really don't cost so much. Again, that will take you from beginning to end, how to do a business plan, how to do a marketing plan, What are the legal things you need to do to set your business up? Or you can take the easy route out and call somebody like Attorney Sheila and pay them and have them do it for you.
I like that idea. Okay, so since you brought up money, so people are saying, okay, all of that sounds good. It sounds good on paper. It looks good, but I don't have any money. I don't have any money to start my plan. I don't have any money to start my business. How do people get started in business without money?
The library, networking, contacts. Who has money out there? Are they programs for minorities for money? Are there programs for women? Or is there a special need for what you're trying to get into? You can go to the library and begin to research for yourself. And sometimes that's hard. There are things we want to do, but you have to put work into that thing that you're trying to get started. So starting your own business, it's going to take work to do it, but to keep it going and to build it is also going to take work. Networking, getting mentors, that is critical. So once you start researching and you get mentors, it's amazing. You will find that there are some doors, there's some opportunities. You may find some money. You just have to start. You can't say, I don't have any money, because there's some free things you could do. Google, the library, the mentors, books. That's the first place to start if you don't have any money.
When I started my my law practice several years ago, I was talking to this gentleman about it, and he was saying how he was, displeased with his job, and he didn't care for his job. And I said, well, why don't you start your law office? You have, so many years of experience. Just start your own business. And he told me that it would cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars to start a law firm, or $100,000. I said, really? I said, I started my law firm with like $100. I didn't have hardly any money when I started it. I had my laptop, I had internet, and I put my name out there, put some cards out there. It took a while, to start building a brand, start building a presence, but you want to get started. And I think if you have access to the internet and you have, a computer, you can do some marketing, get some cards, and you can take advantage of the free marketing through social media. That's your start. That's how you can get started.
And that's why
a Facebook page, an Instagram page, and let people know that you're open for business, and then start taking business. And then the most important thing is when you start taking business and taking people money to do a good job.
Yes. That's why networking is so important. So when you say you don't have money, you have friends, you have associates, or you have friends that will help you. And so you have to take advantage of that. That's great.
What do you think are pivotal traits, very important traits that a leader has? Okay. So
or should have.
That they should have.
Okay, so I'll answer that question based on some great leaders that I have the opportunity to work with across 27 companies here in the States. I'm going to tell you the ones that are affected on the top of the list: integrity and fairness. Integrity, fairness, critical thinking, being effective communicators. They are visionaries, but they also know how to effectively communicate that vision so people know how to fuel it. Sound decision making, people builders, relationship building. They lead by examples. Let's see. They are lifelong learners, and they're strategists.
Now, what's a strategist? I have my definition. I want two things that you homed in with, actually three things that you stated that I think is very critical. You said a lifelong learner. You said integrity and strategist. Can you just highlight those three things? Because that's one of the things that I see a lack of today is integrity. And I think integrity needs to be a core value that everyone embraces, because before you become a great leader, you have to first embrace these core values that you stand on. And can you talk to us a little bit about integrity? That may sound basic to some people, but it's when you deal with, so many people today, they change who they are depending on who they speak with. So if I speak to one group, I say something, A, I speak to another group, I say B, and I speak to another group, I say C. That's an integrity issue for me.
Yes, yes, yes. Uh, your word should stand. It should be something that represent you. One of the reasons people leave their job a lot of times is because of integrity. If the people that work for you can't trust you, can't believe what you say, can't believe what you do, they're not going to work as hard. There's not going to be any loyalty there. The same thing with your customer base, or you just made the reference when you do a job, do a good job for people. What you say and what you do, it has to be consistent. So if you're not honest with people and you say something in your ABC scenario, people will not stay with you. They will leave you. Gallup did a survey, I think it was 2015, and they talked about how when people left their jobs, 75% of the people that left their job, they didn't leave the organization, they left their boss because the bosses were not showing that level of integrity. They were not showing creativity.
Wow.
So the other lifelong learner, I think was the other one you said.
Lifelong learner. And
That's
business
important.
strategist.
So the lifelong learners, the successful, they're looking at what's coming out. What are the books that's coming out that most of the leaders are reading? Sometimes they have abstract. They may not have time to read an entire book, but the newest bestseller in business, it might be an abstract. What are they reading? They also take seminars. They do webinars. They learn from any and everybody. So they may be reading 2, 3 books a week. So those leaders that are successful, they are learning. Also, they learn from other people. Right now, we have about 4 or 5 generations in the workplace at the same time. A successful leader is learning from the generational Z that's just coming into the workplace. They're learning from the millennials. They're learning how to keep up with technology. They're always learning. They're never saying that's too much. I don't want another password, right? They continue to learn. The strategists, sometimes you have to find a different way to do things. And I think one of the best tools that a leader can use is strategic planning, because it puts your vision right back in your face. There's your vision, there's your mission, there's your values, how we do things. There's your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, your threats, long-term goals, short-term goals. We evaluate, we monitor, we evaluate, we celebrate. So being strategic in the organization and having that plan, to me, it shares with everybody. Here's the vision, here's where we're going, here's what we're going to do, here's how we're going to do it. And it just gives you an opportunity to bring your people together. It's a great tool to communicate on how you're going to meet your goals.
Wow. Can you share? I guess you're saying I'm asking you a lot of questions. I'm taking all of this in. I'm taking all of this in for my business and for my success, because I will be putting together a business plan, goals, strategies, outcomes, and desires that I am going to write out for the law office of Sheila R. Stewart for 2022.
All right.
And I have to evaluate my strengths, and I have to evaluate my weaknesses. I have to evaluate what I've done right and what I've done wrong. And then I have to fill the gaps in with how to get to the next tier. Now, that's one of the struggles. How do you get to the next level? And you are an individual that people hire across the country, not just in one particular city. But they hire you across the country to coach them to move to the next level. So if you're taking on a client and this client is saying, my business is stagnated, I am stagnated in this position, how do I move to the next level? How do you get that person to move to the next level?
That's assessment. Sometimes it's the individual. They are missing one of those traits, or they're missing some kind of skill set, or they don't realize their value. They don't know how to use it. So sometimes it's individually assessing that person, helping them create a development plan. Other times is they're not selecting the right people. They're not selecting people with the skill. They're selecting friends. They're selecting family, when they really need to begin to hire people that have the skill set that they need, that also has leadership traits, because they're not going to stay in that same position. And sometimes it's a lack of redundancy. So if you have a couple of people working for you, you need to figure out, if Susie doesn't come to work for a week and she gets sick, get mad, she walk up the job, who's going to cover her? So that requires a lot of assessment. I mean, to look at that individual, to see how that individual is leading, to also look at their team And why can't they go? So what is the organizational barrier? Finding what that barrier is, and then coming up with a plan to help them get to the next level.
That's excellent advice.
Mm-hmm.
We have a question on the screen. It
Mm-hmm.
says, what do you say, or how do you have to be consistent? I guess the person is asking, how do you become consistent?
That's a good question. A lot of times leaders are not consistent, not because they don't want to be, but because somebody didn't create a policy or a procedure. Policies and procedures, we don't want to be bothered with them until all of a sudden we have an agency in our face or some attorney calls us. Then it's like they're asking us, what's your policy on this? Well, what's your employee handbook? And so I would say get together with your leadership team and maybe have a couple people that's not on the leadership team, create an employee handbook or create some kind of policy if it's not an employee, but create policies and procedures, distribute them so that people have access to them, maybe have them on electronically where they can access them, print some paper, give them a hard copy if they want to. But you just want to make sure that there is a policy and then treat people fairly according to whatever your policy is.
Okay, I hope this answers your question, Ms. Daniels, and thank you so much for tuning in, and for all of the individuals that are asking questions and placing this. Let's read what this one states. Oh, it says, soak it up. Paula Hearn is a wealth of knowledge. Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have questions while we have this wealth of knowledge in front of us, please feel free to continue to send any questions that you may have out so we can take a look at them and get them answered for you. Okay, now let's get back to the wealth of knowledge that's here. If a person is in a company and the boss that they have is ineffective, okay? The boss is ineffective. And they can't seem to move. They can't seem to excel. And the boss is kind of in a way that's keeping them from excelling. What advice do you have for that individual? They're trapped almost.
Ooh, okay. Let me preface that. That's a hard question to answer in a general sense. So my HR background, my OD background, my training and development would say assess, assess, assess. So I need to know what's going on with that individual, what's the climate, leadership climate of that organization, and something about their leadership. But I don't know that. So let me try general. To my millennial friends, I would say be a little patient. Bad bosses don't last forever. They just don't. Bad bosses don't last forever. Bad bosses can also be a blessing. They can inspire you. So let's go back to our goals. Sometimes when you're in that situation, you need to focus on what's your goal. That job is not your end all be all. So what's your goal for the next year, for the next 2 years, for the next 3 years? Perhaps you're not planning to stay there long. So if that's the case, is it going back to school? Is it one of these certification programs? Is it just taking a class? So you want to be ready when that opportunity comes. Let me share another quick personal story. I had a horrible boss, terrible. My boss had several addictions, not one or two, several. But he was able to come to work and perform. We did some outstanding things. Our numbers were wonderful, but he was horrible. I literally felt like mentally, emotionally, I was crawling to work. And sometimes it wasn't just me. I was looking how he treated other people. It bothered me. And my husband's like, well, you could just stay home. My thing was I knew there was something about that job that would affect my destiny. I knew it. I felt it, but I didn't like going to work. So I decided to go do something outside. I went to Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie is an organization that helps people communicate effectively, and they also help people speak better. I was a wallflower. I hated speaking to people. I would never do what you asked me to do, by the way. I would hate doing this. So I went and I became a Dale Carnegie instructor. I was the only certified Dale Carnegie instructor in my organization.
Wow.
And while I was doing that, I also got certifications, so a whole lot of places. Center for Creative Leadership. I got certified in how to be an executive coach because I was sort of not happy at work. So then I had to decide, am I going to have a career with Dale Carnegie, or am I going to go back to my job? Well, by the time I decided I was going to go with the Dale Carnegie route, my job call, I got all these great, projects, and I got promoted. Now, let me say this. My goal was to be a leadership development executive, an HR executive, or training and development executive. I literally mastered all of those. And my father was big on, don't be a jack of all trade, master of none. Be a jack of all trade and master of three. So I actually mastered four. There has not been a year that has not passed when I have not said, Lord, I thank you for that bad boss. Had I not had that bad boss, I would have not have gone back to school. I would not have gone to Dale Carnegie. I would not have done the MBA. And I probably would not have said yes to ministry. So a bad boss can be a blessing.
Okay, I was hearing something from C-Joy Network.
Mm-hmm.
So you took the fact that you had a bad boss, you took that bad experience and used it to develop other areas of expertise in your life. And so from that bad experience became a more developed, a more expert, and a more focused individual. I think that is amazing. I get calls all the time from individuals that want to sue a bad boss. And the first thing I tell them, it is not against the law to have a bad boss. They have not broken the law. Well, you don't understand. I do understand. I understand that in order to file a lawsuit, you have to present a prima facie case of discrimination or wrongful termination. And it has to be based on those protected classes.
Right.
You can't just fire somebody because, you can't sue somebody because they're a bad boss.
Right.
Some people don't understand the distinction between having a bad employer versus the employer breaking the law. Okay?
Right. That's so true.
When I try to explain the distinction to them, they often get upset with me.
With you.
They get very upset. Well, you don't understand. I said, I do understand. That's why I'm trying to help you. This is a bad law. Can you explain? This may seem very petty or very elementary, but can you just help people to understand the difference between a bad boss and discrimination?
Okay, so let me say this and remind me, because sometimes I can slip. When I started this on a preface with this question, the other thing is the why. Let's look at why do you have a bad boss? Every boss doesn't want to be bad. Well, let's face it. Let's be real for a moment. Across every industry, oftentimes people are promoted because they were the hard worker in a particular job, or they were somebody's favorite, somebody's nephew, what have you. We promoted them, but we did not train them to be leaders. And they didn't have leadership experience. And now 2 or 3 years have passed. They're your boss. They did not take it upon themselves to go get the leadership training. So now they're bad. But they're not bad because they want to be bad. They just don't know. So I was working with an employment attorney once, and here's what she said to me. And I tell people this all the time. Okay, so your boss is bad. As long as he's being a consistent bad boss to everybody, and they call them a jerk, as long as they're being that to everybody, they have not violated your civil rights. There's no case. And so what you can do is sit down with your boss. Sometimes people don't know they're coming across the way they are. So sometimes you can sit down with your boss and say, hey, on this particular day, this is what happened. This is how it made me feel. If that doesn't work, you can always go up to the next level. If you have a strong HR department, perhaps that HR department could help that manager develop. I mean, if somebody comes to me and told me I had this great weakness and I'm trying to be an executive, I'm going to fix it. So, but you can't just go filing lawsuits or calling agencies over things that they're not violations of the law.
Right. And I get those kind of calls, and I have to walk individuals through, the distinction between violating your human rights under, being under a protected class versus this person just being crummy to everyone.
Right.
And you can't file a lawsuit
because they're crummy.
Bad boss. You can only file a lawsuit when they have broken a law that under a protected class, a Title VII violation.
Right.
So let's move into work. This whole ideal of executive coaching. Okay. So how can that executive coaching skill be transferred over to my personal development? So how can you use your advice? How can you take your advice? I may not be framing the question right.
Okay,
I
I'll get it. Go
apologize.
ahead.
Let me try it again.
Mm-hmm.
So you are an executive coach.
Mm-hmm.
How can you, for those that's listening, how can you give them advice on that executive coaching to help them to move over the next, I don't know, 30 days? I know you talked about
Mm-hmm.
writing goals. I know
Mm-hmm.
you talked about setting goals, and I talk
Mm-hmm.
about what I plan to do at the beginning of the year. But to
Mm-hmm.
get that individual moving as an
Mm-hmm.
executive coach, what do you think those barriers are that's keeping them from moving? And what can they do
Mm-hmm.
between now and the first of the year to start moving in the right direction?
Mm-hmm. So my niche in executive coaching has been executives and people that are in middle level management and helping them get to the next level. I'm also a certified professional coach, so I'm a Maxwell coach as well. So I do coaching outside of that. My executive coaching is really, if I had to use that line and help somebody, it's more about helping them to identify where their weaknesses are. So it's what are your strengths? I'm going to find out what their strengths are. I want to know what their weaknesses are. Sometimes we could do a 360 survey with them to help them realize where there are parallax. So between how I see myself and how others around me see myself, how do I close those gaps? And that's normally a really nice instrument that will help you, because if I'm evaluating you on a 360 on communication and you say on a scale of 1 to 4, I'm a 4, and everybody else is saying you are 1 or 2, then we need to take a look at what's going on that caused them to have that perception. And perception is reality until there's a paradigm shift. And so once I'm able to go through an assessment like that, I'm normally able to help people create the plan to get them to the next level. It requires assessment, lots of questions, asking people how they feel about things, what they've done about things, what they want to do. Sometimes people do not have the mental capacity to go to the next level because they're in a situation where there is a bad boss. So I help people through that as well.
Can you explain exactly what the Dale Carnegie classes are for individuals that's wants those certifications, and the CPC coach? What does that consist of exactly, and how does one go about getting those type of certifications?
So I haven't dealt with Dale Carnegie in a while, so it might be just go and Google and make a telephone call. But they have programs that will help you with public speaking. They also have leadership programs that will help you develop in leadership. It is extremely expensive, but it's highly effective. And sometimes, if you're in a leadership, a middle level management leadership in your organization, some organizations will pay for it. So as far as being certified to be a trainer, that takes a while. So normally people get certification to train if that's the area that they want to go into. But if you don't want to be certified to train and you just want to become a better effective communicator or a better leader, that's a place that you can go. The other one is Toastmasters, not as expensive. It gives you consistency. It gives you opportunity to speak in front of other people. And again, there is a leadership track. One of the things I like about Toastmaster and Dale Carnegie is it brings you in a room with other people that don't look like you, don't think like you, don't act like you. So you have this diversity of thought, you have different ways of life. It gives you the opportunity to learn and grow from them. So that's one of the things I think that people can do in a consistent way to help build their communication skills as well as their leadership skills.
Diversity is a huge issue for business. Many businesses lack diversity, and many individuals do not know how to work and matriculate in environments that are homogeneous. So if the environment is all white, or if the environment is all black, if it's not a diverse environment, individuals tend to struggle even more. What advice do you give to the individual that's in an environment that's homogeneous and opposite to what their race is?
Wow. Let me tell a story. So I think I was 24, just entering leadership. I was young, I was a female, and I was Black. And so I worked in an environment that was male dominated, and they call it the good old boy theory, basically. So you were young, you didn't know anything because you're young and you haven't had the experience. But I did have a degree, and other people really didn't that I worked with. I was a female. Well, females were not welcome to the table. So, there were a lot of laws coming out about minorities or whatever. They were not enforced to the extent that they are today. And then I didn't look like everybody else. Everybody look. I was not treated with the same parity. Again, your job is not your end all, be all. And so I had to put together a plan for my life. I mean, my husband and I, we were 20 years old buying the land that we're going to build our retirement home on.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 15-year plan, a 30-year plan. So what I'm doing today actually was on paper 25, 30 years ago.
Are you serious?
So, yes, I'm very serious. Every year we have family plans. Every 5 years I have a plan. I have a 10-year, 15-year plan. Of course, I can cut that down a little bit now because I'm in my senior moment. But yeah, I'm telling you, when you have a vision and you add goals to it, the Bible is right. It comes to pass. It will surely come to pass. So my father taught us not to make excuses. And so I would go home and I said, Dad, you just don't understand. He would say, no, no, no. If you can't go around it, if you can't go over it, if you can't go under it, if you can't drill through it, you need to sit down and understand that if you ask God, he certainly will direct your path. He will. And God always gave me somebody or something or some plan to work with. So it's reality.
So what was your training or your background that caused you to start writing these plans down at 20, you're 10 or 15? I mean, what motivated you to do that?
Probably my dad and I had a power group. I remember being 12 years old, and my father every Saturday would drive us way out to go grocery shopping. And I always wondered why. And my sister and I would be in the back, that's my house, that's my car, that's my car, that's my house. And so one day I said, Dad, why all these houses are like this? And he said, well, a lot of these people went to good schools and they got educated and they made good money. And I said, I'm going to be a businesswoman. I'm going to be way up top and executive, and I'm going to make a lot of money. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And for some reason that stuck with me, and my father and my mother, they pushed me. And so my father, my mother, my sister, my 5 brothers, if something comes up and I was nervous, they would say, you can do it. And it's like, why I got to be the one to do it? If a door is going to, just walk through that door. Girl, we got your back. Walk through the door. So my family pushed me. They encouraged me. And my father encouraged me also to get mentors. So I had my 3 pastors. I've only had 3 in my lifetime. All 3 of my pastors were phenomenal leaders, and I had great business moxie. I had a real estate buddy that's at the top of his game. I had a real estate attorney.
Wait a second. Can you pause for 1 second?
Sure.
I want to give a shout out to my pastor. He's a great pastor and a great,
yes, he is.
Businessman, and his wife. They are awesome. Bishop Melvin J. Smith and Lady Jacqueline Smith. They are phenomenal. And,
phenomenal.
I get excited when I get excited about it because it's coming together for me.
Yes.
Spiritual and the business. It needs to come together. You need you need a holistic experience.
Yes. And see, that's what's so neat about this. So my pastor was Pastor Nathaniel Smith, my daddy.
Right.
My second pastor was Bishop Dwight McDaniel. He didn't play. And my current pastor.
I didn't know Bishop Dwight McDaniels was your pastor.
Oh, yes. Bishop. I would leave the late night shift and literally go. I had a bad boss. I would literally go to his office at 8:30 and he would coach me and counsel me through that. And so when you talked about the whole person, my father helped me develop this wheel. And I later saw it in life. It's just every major area of my life that I want to deal with God in the center. And then the spokes became my brothers, my sister, and my husband. So outside of that, though, it's like 6 people. So I had these 3 pastors. I had a real estate guru. I had a financial guru because I didn't like numbers. So I had a financial guru, and then I have a world-renowned motivational speaker, and I have a female executive, and they helped me through all of that. Female, being Black, being young, being stuck, burnout, getting tired. And so their job was to help me become a balanced person. When I became balanced, I found myself saying yes to ministry. Isn't that something?
Wow, we're going to talk about this supervisor of Spain before we let you go. But I mean, you were destined. I mean, you took on ownership
Yeah,
for
yeah,
success.
yes,
Okay, you took on. You wore the clothes of success before it came,
yes, yes.
laying the foundation, putting together a strategy, and making it come to pass as you went through life. Now, somebody
Mhm,
that's 40, someone that's 50, or even 60 years old that's
mhm.
watching this, it's not too late for them.
No,
Tell them why.
it's never too late as long as you have breath in your body. And one of the things I always say is ask God for direction. He knows how long you're going to be here. He knows your path already. The Bible says in a multitude of counsel, plans are established. So you could be 50, you could be 60. I was ready to go back to law school, and your pastor, I think I was 58 years old at the time, your pastor said, you can do it. I'll help you. So if you have a desire and you want to do it, and it's going to help fulfill you, it's going to help other people, it's going to broaden your ministry, get you on your destiny, go do it. Call me, I'll help you. Do it. Find some people that will mentor you and encourage you to get it done. It's not too late. If you're breathing and you can read and you can write, do it. If you can't read and you can't write, we'll figure out how to help you get through a GED program or something.
Mhm. That's excellent. That is
Mhm.
excellent. It is not too late.
It's not too late.
If you have goals and there are great things you want to do, it is not too late for
Mhm.
you to get them done. Execute a plan, lay out
Mhm.
your goals, lay out your vision, and execute. And start simple.
Mhm.
Have
Yes.
internet connectivity, use
Yes.
social media, make people aware of who you are and what it is you want to do. And
Mhm.
then find a support group. Some people will laugh at you and say little
Mhm.
negative things behind your back, and you will
Mhm.
hear about it and you'll feel really bad, but that's
Mhm.
okay. Keep
Right.
moving in the direction of your success, because she's laying out Paula's laying out
Mhm.
information that
Mhm.
can take you there. This is an individual that you have been incredibly successful,
Mhm.
but it's
Mhm.
just amazing that you start writing these plans
Oh yeah, yeah.
30
I
years
listened in
ago.
Sunday school. I listened in Sunday school. Write the
Mhm.
vision, make it plain. So let me add to Sheila, that when you were talking about just go ahead and do it, it's never too late. I think sometimes that sounds easy to some people who've done it, but if you're just starting, it's harder. I also encourage people to grab a millennial. If you're 40, 50, that there's an age different, they talk different, whatever. I have so many millennial friends. Some of them I helped and it just evolved into friendship. I'm also going to the Z generation now. I learned so much from them. That's how I keep up with my technology. And so don't be afraid to broaden that. We talk about diversity. Diversity is also diversity of thought. It's just not the colors or what have you. But go and get some people on your team that can help you that are from different generations other than yours. You will be amazed how fast you will learn from them.
Right. And so if they're saying, well, I don't, my group is not diverse. I don't have these individuals from these different places that I could actually learn from. How do they find these individuals?
So sometimes church, sometimes you can go to the boys' home or the girls' home and volunteer some work. You can go, let's say you want to go take a class. You can take a class at the community college or through one of the school district community classes and find people that may be younger than you. You just have to be on the lookout for. You'd be surprised. You walk up to a young person. I was at a seminar one time and my phone wouldn't act right. And I walked right over to somebody that was about 18 years old. I said, you know what? I'm up in about 10 minutes. I don't have no idea what's going on with this phone. Please fix my phone. They grabbed the phone. To this day, that person still calls me. They say, oh, you're different. I'm not different. I just allow them to be part of my life. I learn from them. They learn from me. We synergize well together. So that's it. I need young people to synergize with me to help me continue to grow.
And we all need to continue to grow because we're
Mhm.
lifelong learners.
Learners,
And,
yes.
and being a lifelong learner is not necessarily going back to school and getting a degree, although I
Right,
would love to go back to school to get a
right,
degree.
right.
I'm looking into my schedule to see how I can make that happen. Right now, I'm not seeing how I can make it happen but I would like to do that. But
Mhm.
even without a degree, we're still lifelong learners.
Yes, yes.
And we need to be reading, listening, and just getting information in, data in every day
Mhm.
to become better at what we do.
That's so true. That's so true.
Now, you were recently elevated
Mhm.
to the supervisor of Spain.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
What was that training experience like for you?
Oh, I just, Mother Lewis's team did a phenomenal job. Mother Gatlin is the dean of the school. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks. We had orientation, and we had training, we had a test that scared us, but we did well. But the training was phenomenal. They did an outstanding job. Mother Lewis wanted to make sure that we got rid of some of the jitters and the assimilation process was good for us. It was a great experience.
I would like to also recognize
Mhm.
Mother Barbara McCool Lewis. She's an outstanding leader.
Yes.
And Mother Vanessa Gatlin, they do a
Mhm.
tremendous job, and many, many others that's on that team. The
Mhm.
Sims, they do a phenomenal job. And
Wonderful.
if you say that the training was outstanding, then I know it had to be
It was
good
outstanding. It was
because you
very different. It
assess.
was
I'm
outstanding.
sorry, say that again. I'm sorry.
I said it was slightly different to some of the other trainings I've attended, but you can tell they put the work into it, they put the research into it. The people that presented knew their stuff. They were good. The leadership section was wonderful.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
And so, how do you think that training that you receive is transferable in the business that you do as well?
Sure, because some of the things that they talked about some of the different types of leadership styles. Of course, there may have been different names, titles of the leadership style, but it's pretty much the same. People get another leadership and they call it something else, but we know what it is. But the way they presented it and explained it and helped people understand it, that this is not the kind of leader you want to be this kind of leader, and really explaining it to us and encouraging us, it was great. Just the whole experience of, you're new in this role. You're probably wondering what you're going to do. You're probably nervous, and we want to help you. So that whole foundation of taking away the jitters, and I think most of us left thinking, I can do this. I'm excited. I'm ready. So they did a wonderful job with that.
What challenges do you think you may foresee working with women in Spain?
At this point, I don't know. So I've been working with Bishop Bass. He's putting together his, leadership team and some strategies and what have you. So I guess the first challenge would be Spanish. I took like 3 years in high school, so I'm in the process now of refreshing, brushing up on my Spanish. So that's gonna be my first thing, is get my Spanish back up to par. But culture, I'm sure there's a culture difference. So the onus is on me to learn as much as I can about the culture in Spain, the culture of women, the challenges that women face there, so I can go in with some knowledge. And of course, going in and establishing a network so I can learn from the women of Spain as well.
This is very interesting. Now, this
It
is a
is.
very interesting period of time in your life. Now,
Yes.
when you were writing out your 10-year goals and 15-year goals, did you foresee this type of opportunity?
I wrote out a plan to semi-retire. And so I was resting, doing my thing. And let me share this with you. Sometimes when you're elevated, people say the strangest things to you, but you have to know how to just keep it moving. And somebody walked up to me and they said, I have to walk up the steps to get to where I am. You just went to the elevator, pushed the button, and boom, you were gone. And I, just sort of made a little comment. I got a revelation from that. I walked away and I said, nobody knows your story like you. There were times, remember I said I had to crawl to work mentally, physically? There were times when I had to crawl in. There were times when I got to walk up the steps, but I had to take 2 steps back down. I went up 3 steps. I had to come down 5 steps. Then there were times the Lord just allowed me to run up the steps to my next level. Then there was a period of time where I was like 2 years on an escalator. I was going smooth sailing. Well, no, when the elevator door came, I didn't call for the elevator. I didn't even push the button. The door opened and there were all these people that were very smart and they were high level people, and people behind me were saying, get in the elevator, get in. And of course I'm afraid, so I got in the elevator. But here's what happened. When it comes to other things that happen in my life, sometimes the Lord just beamed me into position. So I didn't go up the steps. I didn't go up the escalator. I didn't go to the elevator. He just beamed me to where he wanted me to be. And I believe that comes from being ready, always on that learning path, always understanding that that one thing that you do is not just all of you. And so I think about my bad boss. I think that all that worked together, even for this day. So I am grateful that I had that bad boss. I didn't like it then, but I know I didn't see this one coming. But Supervisor Marie Brown prophesied this day, and I laughed like Sarah. And you know, it wasn't that God couldn't do it. I just didn't have that in my plan. I had planned on doing something else, but I always want to be available to God to serve. So I'm excited about things. I'm excited.
Good. I'm excited. I am very excited for you. And it's just kind of strange that someone would say that you don't
Oh,
get
you do a lot of stuff.
to that level of achievement and do the type of work you have done without putting your time in to do that
Oh,
level of work
yeah.
that you've done in corporate America. And I think
Mhm.
the work that you have done in corporate America is you are to be saluted for that work and for your accomplishments. You've done
Thank
a
you.
phenomenal job, and you are to
Thank
be
you.
congratulated for the work that you have done. And you have worked. You did not walk up, get on an elevator, but you
Right.
went to school, an MBA, a
Mhm.
MA, a
Mhm.
BA, and then all of the numerous certifications.
Right.
That's putting the work in there.
Yeah.
That's putting the work in, and that's my opinion on that. People are
Yeah.
entitled to their opinions, but that's how I see it. Okay, we are out of time. I would love for you to have the last word. Don't go away. Once we get off, we'll just click off the live. But I would love for you to have the last few words to wrap it up and to give anyone any last minute advice to help them in their business, their entrepreneurship. What would that word be?
So first, let me say, yo te agradezco to you. That means I appreciate you. I
Thank
thank
you.
you so much.
Your sound is going out a little bit. It's a little different.
Okay, so
I'm getting a little feedback.
I haven't done anything differently. Let me try my volume. Is that better?
Yes, a little better. Thank you.
Okay, so I said to you, yo te agradezco, and that means I appreciate you.
Oh, thank
That's
you.
my little Spanish update. So I would encourage people that listen to just be aware and just understand that the job that you're doing today is just that. It's the job that you're doing today. You might be going for a career, which is fine, but look at your entire life. You have your family, you've got your career, you've got your finances, you've got the spiritual side of you. Develop your entire life and surround yourself with people that can give you good advice and that can encourage you. And again, you don't want to be around people who are just good at their job. They want to be good at everything. And when you think about, I think attorney Sheila talks about her pastor, my pastor the same way. There's somebody that's a good spiritual leader, that they're good in their homes, that they're good in their finances, they're just good in their professional life. You want people that are well-rounded. And the onus is on you as an individual to create that vision and to create goals, not just a vision board, but to create some goals with a milestone so that you can see your progress. And there's nothing wrong with doing it every year, doing a 5-year plan, doing a 10-year plan. So you can look and see. You can put it in a book if you want and set a date where you can go back and take a look at the goals that you have. And there's a study on that too about writing your goals down. They tend to come to fruition when you write them down. So I just want to encourage everybody, just don't forget, to work on building yourself and always ask God for direction, but He will surely give you some directions and some guidance. Thank you again, Attorney Sheila. I appreciate you. I love you, sis.
I love you too, and thank you for being with us. Thank you, audience. You have been listening to Legal Views with Attorney Sheila R. Stewart. We will not be with you on next weekend because of the Thanksgiving holiday, but we will be back the first Saturday in December. Thank you for tuning in and have a wonderful evening. Thank you to our guest, Mrs. Paula Hearn. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.